I'm smiling because I take delight in the awkwardness of this conversation, but not because it's funny, but because it's painful. Hey, what's going on? I'm Jake Gordon from Electric Moon. I play the guitar and guitar-related implements. And as part of our little series here discussing songs from the EP, I'm going to talk about Drag, a song near and dear to my heart. Drag was one of the earliest songs we wrote, actually. It's upbeat, it's rocking, it's moving. And our objectives when writing the song were to capture something that was, fast and moving around and dancey and interesting. And it's also very retro and kind of slippery. And actually, it's that the slinkiness of the riff is where the name Drag comes from. And it's called that because the riff drags. I mean, there's like a hang in the timing. I mean, it's in a pretty steady 4/4 kind of construction in G minor, but it hangs on a couple of key points, and there's like these tension moments, in that one little block. I have long said that like awesome rock and roll songs usually incorporate what I like to think of as periods of like tension and relief. Drag to me is a really good example of that, but in the microcosm of the main riff itself. And then of course elsewhere in the song that is exercised with like the breaks and stuff like that. But really I think that from a songwriting, like a technical construction point of view, Drag like is built on that bedrock of like creating tension and resolving that tension in like a fun, amicable way. It's not like a Drag never really kicks your ass. It's still like one of the most tame, I think, of our songs, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You gotta have some. If you don't have anything that's a little tame or conventional, then you don't have any metric by which to measure the things that are a little more out there. But it's a super fun song to play on guitar. It's one of the highlights of the show, in my opinion. We've been closing with it lately because it's just so big and has such a solid ending. And as a guitar player, it's just a tremendous amount of fun. It's in G. And I play this song pretty exclusively on Doombringer, and I more or less always have. I got this super hot, nifty EMG81 in here, and it really lends a lot of like ass kicking, a lot of serious heat to this riff. So the main riff to the song is goes like this, and I'll explain the drag part of the riff. So I'll just play through it once. And so, like, whenever we hit those big old G bends that rest. Right there, that guy. That's where the drag comes from. Is because there's that long that's that period of tension I was talking about. Like the pull of that bend is coupled with this kind of like rise, and then we return real quickly. Which resolves the pattern, So we got that big pull, that and the release. Into a handy dandy little G power chord shuffle guy. But and so that riff is it's very scalar and it's constructed in like a very simple way, but that tension is what I think really makes it a fun little piece. That's that little bit of Electric Moon magic dust that helps like bring it from being like a kind of a regular scalar riff kind of thing. Like if this would be like a boring version. I mean, like, that's not too far off of construction. I mean, it's still very scalar and stuff, but it doesn't have that same like danceability, that like kind of like sexual pull that big excellent tension bend has. And that's where the drag comes from, is because it kind of drags. I mean, it doesn't actually lose tempo, but it kind of feels like it does. It just kind of pulls you down. So the lead part of Drag is something I'm pretty proud of. It's a like fairly standard in construction solo part that is kind of in 3 phases, right? We start out with this ascension on G, in G, on G, that runs up the G string in these kind of like these little triplet parts that kind of run up the whole neck, right? And it requires a little bit of dexterity in your right hand, which requires some like creative use of your fingers whenever you don't play the pick like I don't. So it's kind of like these little running triplets that are going to go up and then terminate at the octave G up here, up in this this higher G scale register up there. So for the first phase of it, it's that run, right? So it goes something like and that brings us up to that scalar G, right? So again, it just kind of runs like it's kind of gibberishy and noisy, but that's fun. It's rock and roll. So it kind of runs up there, and we culminate in like these little double hammer releases up here in the G scale that go. And then we got like some fun scalar pattern stuff after that. So, and that pretty much carries out the rest of phase 2. So like phase 1, phase 2 is solo. Really. And that's pretty much the whole. It only runs like a. Not even the length of the whole verse, I don't think. It's a pretty short, like, I keep fixing this shit. It's a pretty short endeavor to run up, from G all the way up there to that phase 2 stuff. And then phase 3 is a synchronous tap part that me and Stuart both play. He's doing like these triplets on the organ, and I'm doing, some guitar tap triplets, which are a lot easier to do sitting down than they are standing up. But, so the triplet part by itself is like. And it just ends in that big, fat, fun D power chord. Alright, so this is this is like a riff into the lead piece, kind of like the total picture. And I'll also probably play the first bit of the bridge, because those were segues. Hey, thanks for watching. Had an awesome time. I hope you did too. You all learned a lot about each other. And hopefully if you're interested, this gave you some cool insight into why I wrote this guitar part the way I did. If you want to find out more about the band or see what we're up to or when we're playing near you, you can check us out at facebook.com/electricmoonmusic or at our website at www.electricmoonband.com. Anyway, thanks for watching. Okay. Hibble bibble. Hibble bibble. Like.